Okay, so here we are inside Windsong. I'm going to be starting from the front of the boat, working our way back. And what you're seeing here is the V-berth at the very front of the boat. So let me just walk up here to the tip, which is the chain locker. You can see here this bulkhead. I think I wrote about it a long time ago, how this bulkhead was rotten out, pretty much destroyed from leaks coming through in the chain locker. So I replaced it a long time ago, and it's all fiberglassed in. Just hit my head pretty good on the cabin top. You can see there, this is all faired down and sanded, but it's tabbed in. The plywood itself is coated in epoxy. You can kind of see some areas where I've sanded through that epoxy, but it'll be getting its finishing touches when I prime and paint the interior of the boat, which I'll tell you more about in a little bit. Up here at the very front of the boat is the chain locker. It's gotten a coat of paint. I painted a couple of these lockers a long time ago, but a lot of work has been done since, so they'll get a new coat of paint along with everything else. You can see some of the tabs for the bulkhead here, and you can see the bottom of the chain locker. I've left open a good sized hole, which I can open up if I need to. I haven't decided if I'm going to run a pipe from the anchor chain inlet down to the compartment below me to move all that weight a little further aft and to create a secondary chain locker up here. I've heard of people having troubles with the angle from the hole down to the bottom of the V-berth locker, but I'll try to solve that problem sooner or later. You can see here is the big backing plate system I have for the bowsprit. These three big bolts, there's one all the way in front, are the ones that hold the bowsprit in. These other ones are holding in the anchor windlass, and those small ones up there is just the anchor chain cover. Those two little holes right there it is where a rod is bolted to that the bob stay is run through with. I'm not sure what it's called, but it serves some purpose for the bowsprit. That locker, this locker, I intend to make the secondary chain locker. You can see up here at the top this strange looking thing going on right here. That is the bob stay chain plate, and it is fiberglassed in here. It goes through a hole in the middle of the boat and is held in by fiberglass, and these are wires, or not really wires, they're rods about 1/4 inch thick, that are welded to the back of that chain plate, and it prevents it from going through the hole, and the fiberglass holds it in, prevent it from coming out. It's how it was made originally. I had replaced the chain plate with a new one that the old one had a crack on it that wasn't gonna fly, so I had taken it out and re-glassed in a new one. If I do make this the chain locker, I'm not sure if I'll block off the hole at the bottom to where the water runs down to the bilge. I may block it off and create a floor to have a sump pump in, like a little bilge pump to pump out the chain locker water, but I'm not sure if that's where I'll go. I'm still trying to figure out if any others have done something similar on these boats, to get some ideas. Moving further back in the V-berth, you can see there's another big locker right here that will get a paint job. I've just recently cleaned the boat, so any weird coloration and stuff are either repairs or just permanent stains or whatever they are. The boat's ready to get a full paint job on the inside, which is one of the next big projects. So I wanted to get these videos done before the final paint job. Same with the chain locker. You can see some of these cabinets. I've given a layer of paint a while ago, but they'll be getting another coat or two to finish it all up. That's about it for the V-berth. Here's the Tri-Matrix ports that I got from Newfound Metals, what they look like from the inside. I showed you guys the outsides of them in the other videos, but they're pretty nice. They're you know, they've got heavy duty hardware, and I like the tint, and they open up well. Speaking of, I've got my hatch here, of course being held up by a piece of scrap plywood, because that's just the state of things around here. Moving further and further back, you'll see here on the floor this red stuff is fairing compound. The floors were at one point cleaner than this, but it's a molded fiberglass non-skid pattern, and here I faired it in because I plan on using a product, these vinyl fake teak and holly floors. They go by a few names: Plastique or New Teak or Lawn Seal, I believe is another name. But anyways, I'm going to use that stuff. I saw it on another boat and was very impressed with it, and the guy was just finishing up a 20-year circumnavigation on a Downeaster 38 and said he wished he had that product for the last 20 years. So I trusted his word and abandoned my plans to reuse plywood for the floors, and I'm going with this stuff as it's more durable. But to get a good bond on the non-skid floor, I needed to fair up this area that the flooring will go on. This area is the head, and that's the shower sump. I'm just going to paint the non-skid and make it look good again. A teak grate goes right there, and of course a lid on that access to the build. Right here, this bulkhead was replaced, and you'll see from here back everything already has some white paint on it. I spent some time a while back painting most of the interior of the boat. I just got kind of antsy and decided I wanted to do it one day, not really realizing the extent of work that I still had left to go on the boat. But anyways, all this will get another coat of paint or two. It's been sanded and cleaned. But this bulkhead was replaced along with pretty much every other bulkhead on the port side of the boat, because a few certain leaks proceeded to just rip apart everything over time with rot. So all these bulkheads need to be replaced. You can see it was cut using the pattern of the old bulkhead and tabbed in with fiberglass onto the hull. But attached to this bulkhead at this edge that kind of follows this pattern on the floor is the door frame that blocks off the main cabin from the head, and the V-berth from the head, and the main cabin from the V-berth. That door frame, much like many of the plywood structures, was pretty rotten but salvageable. Unfortunately, it came apart when I was removing it, but through some careful surgery with epoxy, I was able to mend it back together to be reused. And that was important because it has a lot of trim on it that's nailed and glued down and impossible to remove. So I'm happy I got to reuse the door frames, and I've fitted them, but I only fitted them with the idea of using plywood floors instead of the lawn seal. So I've got to do some more surgery and modifications to them to raise the door frame up, and I'm going to do that with a layer of a couple, maybe, well, it'll be 3/4 inch of fiberglass, solid fiberglass sheet, so that way the frame won't ever wick up any water that gets on the floors, particularly from the head. So hopefully that'll be an improvement. But the door frames still need to go in. They'll go in after painting, I believe so. And eventually the doors will as well. The doors are all restored and repaired in my garage and just need another coat of varnish and they're ready to be installed. So here's the rest of the head. It's just got a window. There's my solar vent. You can see here it's a backing plate and bolts for a pad eye on the deck. And you can see I used 1/4-inch aluminum for the backing plates. So working down, got a window. This will be a cabinet, or was a cabinet, that was also rotted away from the water intrusion, and I'm rebuilding that cabinet in the garage. The countertops will get a new layer of Formica or something. I was able to salvage the sink and all the faucets. Where the actual head goes, I used to have a fully powered macerator pump driven head system, but it was old and none of it really worked. So I threw it all out and I'm going with a composting head. I haven't decided on which composting head, but I know that's the direction I really want to go in. Under here you can see there's the one open through hole left, and on the bottom video I showed you where I closed off the through holes. That's what it looks like inside, just that hole that's left, and then that's the other one up there that I closed up. So once again, this locker, like all the other ones, will get a couple layers of paint. Well, more than that, because this one hasn't been painted at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the head, and moving along.